Welcome to this AccuWeather Alert episode of Weather or Not, sponsored by TD Bank. I'm WABC Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg. We're going to take you through this storm, which is going to be a super soaker, and talk about some damaging winds and the cold blast that follows the storm. What can you do to prepare? Well, clear the storm drains near your home, secure loose items, holiday decorations. Try to avoid travel, especially during the afternoon hours on your Wednesday. And if you must travel and you run into standing water or flooded roadways, no matter how much of a rush you're in, please turn around, don't drown, where you just don't know how deep that water is and you can become stranded. The other thing is have your mobile alerts on. We could actually get a rare December severe thunderstorm warning moving through the area during the afternoon hours. This is a drencher, heavy rain and gusty winds on your Wednesday. The impact will be some street flooding. There is some minor coastal flooding on south-facing shores, and because of the really powerful winds, we could have some scattered power outages. The most likely areas would be Connecticut and Long Island. Then the big drop in temperatures, as temperatures could actually spike into the 60s on Wednesday. By Thursday morning, we're near freezing temperatures, and it feels like we're in the 20s. Your AccuWeather headlines: rounds of rain all day long. We can already have downpours causing ponding on area roadways for the morning commute. But the brunt is in the afternoon hours, which has trended a little earlier, meaning that we could get into some of the heavy rains in New York City 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and maybe it goes until 3 or 4 in the afternoon, a little later than that on parts of Long Island. So when we talk about the amounts, 1.5 to 3 inches of rain should be widespread, but I think we'll get some local amounts that could push 4 inches, and that would be over parts of Long Island. Once again, street and minor coastal flooding, damaging winds, possible power outages, and of course the low visibilities. The big drop in temperature will be something like 30 degrees as we go from 60s to 30s Wednesday night, and it's a wintry wind during the day on Thursday. High wind warnings are out for Long Island with some gusts to 60 miles an hour, and we could have some 50-mile-per-hour gusts Jersey Shore, New York City, northeast New Jersey, coastal Connecticut, and also southern Westchester. See, the storm is very dynamic in that we have a pipeline to the Gulf of Mexico and Atlantic moisture coming in, funneling right up the coast, and we also have what's called a low-level jet, where winds are screaming just a few thousand feet up. We could have gusts in the afternoon hours that are going up to 70, 80 miles an hour just a few thousand feet up. And if we tap into any of that via a heavy downpour or thunderstorm, some 60, 65 mile per hour gusts could get down to the surface and be very damaging. If you look at the darker shades of green, if you're watching Weather or Not, and I can just explain this if you're just listening, some of the most rich moisture coming out of the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic is over us starting around midday. So that's why I don't want you to get caught off guard when we're talking afternoon, and this thing is coming in right around noontime and even before that, south and west of New York City. And if you notice, the darker shades are really focused over Connecticut and Long Island by mid-afternoon. So that's been an ongoing trend, that the brunt of the storm is starting a little earlier, and already by mid-afternoon, drying is starting to work in to the Catskills and Poconos along with the Arctic front and some very powerful winds, or at least a cold front and the precursor to the Arctic air coming in. So there can already be downpours and tough travel conditions for the morning commute, even though we haven't gone through the brunt, because what's happening is a warm front has lifted through during the overnight, and where we had a raw day on Tuesday, Wednesday's a mild day, kind of a balmy wind kicking in and temperatures spiking into the 60s. So we won't have widespread dense fog and low visibilities in that way, but the visibilities could be down in some heavy downpours. Once we get toward midday, notice how there's this surge of very heavy rainfall and even an embedded squall line here that's going right up I-95 and getting into New York City right after the midday hour. And these are the individual thunder showers we might have that will tap into some of those stronger winds. And you see how the worst is over New York City, maybe between about 12:30 and 3:30. After that, it's Connecticut and Long Island from about 2:30, 3 o'clock, 4:30. See, it's still bad over Suffolk County and just getting out of Fairfield County, and then moving east of the Twin Forks as we go through the early evening hours. There's still rain behind that, and don't get me wrong, I focused on I-95 eastward, but there's still heavy rain leading into that midday hour north and west of New York City, where we're stacking up the amounts. And then notice during the early evening hours, the cold air is rushing in, and we're changing the rain over to snow in higher elevations of the Poconos and Catskills, and even putting down a small accumulation. Last raindrops in New York City, maybe in the 10 o'clock hour. We're still dealing with some leftover showers off to the north and east. Maybe even an ice pellet or two can get in places like Fishkill and over into Jefferson Valley. By midnight, cold, gusty wind. Temperatures continue to free fall. And by morning on Thursday, we're not far from freezing. Now, the winds are going to have a chance to blow everything dry overnight. But, with this amount of rain, we could still have some big puddles, and temperatures in the suburbs are near freezing. You have to watch out for a couple of icy spots, especially near the shoulder where you have some low-lying areas where the water pools. So just be aware of that for the Thursday morning travel. And then during the day, we're in the 30s and it feels like teens and 20s with a gusty wind. So figure in general a 1.5 to 3 inch rainfall area-wide, but there will likely be some hot spots. Over Long Island and Connecticut, we could push 4 inches of rain. And then where we have this big southerly wind coming in and it goes up the higher terrain, we call that orographic lifting. And as that lift happens up the terrain, that enhances the precipitation. So we could get a second maximum here where we approach 3 inches over northwest New Jersey and parts of the Hudson Valley. So hopefully over some of our, into the Catskills too, so hopefully over some of our reservoirs. This is just one model and the depiction. And if you just sort of take it not for one particular station, but just the overall theme it's suggesting is that there's a lot of 2-inch values around here in terms of the rainfall. It might be a little less briefly north and west. Remember, I talked about some of the enhancement with the higher terrain and then the bullseye. This has been a continuous message. Connecticut, Long Island has a chance to go 3-4 inches of rain, but impressive amounts New York City, Monmouth, Ocean, Middlesex County, Essex County as well. In terms of snow, after that changeover in the higher elevation, especially on colder surfaces, there'll be a coating of maybe an inch or two highest elevations and some slippery roads, like for instance on Route 17. Again, the wind alerts, the high wind warning on the east end, and the wind advisory in New York City, like right down the I-95 corridor. Here's a sampling of the winds, which are breezy first thing in the morning, but I think you'll notice a huge difference by 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning where we could have some gusts already pushing 50 along the coast. The strongest winds are definitely going to be east, but the city's right on the western fringe of that where we could definitely get some 40, 50 mile per hour gusts. We saw even this computer model suggest that there were some near 60 mile per hour gusts on the island as I've been watching it throughout the day and night. There can still be 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts north and west of New York City. So again, secure those holiday decorations. And there's that snapshot right there, Wednesday afternoon. Look at that in Islip, nearly a 60 mile per hour gust. As the front comes through, we get more of a west-northwest wind later in the day. The winds will still be busy. They won't be dangerously strong, but still some gusts to 30. And even into the day on Thursday, I think we're going to see some wind gusts that top 30 miles an hour. So that's a blustery and chilly day, despite the fact that we're going to get the sunshine back. Look at the temperatures. During the middle of the day, it'll be in the 60s in New York City. It'll be plunging through the 30s across western Pennsylvania, and that's the air that rushes in Wednesday night. So a 30-degree drop by Thursday morning. We're not far from the freezing mark. So windy and sharply colder on Thursday. Friday, cold but calmer because high pressure is overhead. On Saturday, sun and some high clouds from the next system. And then the Sunday system looks a little slower. We might be able to salvage much of the day with just a lot of clouds. Maybe there's a late day shower or nighttime rain shower. This system, it doesn't look particularly organized, but there might be some development of low pressure along the coast. So I'm going to have to allow for some rain showers to continue into Monday and even early Tuesday. Now let's talk about the extended part of whether or not where I'm still looking at a pattern that looks at least seasonable, if not a little below normal as we head into the holidays. And with more clippers, I can't say that at least some snow is off the table. If you look at the overall steering winds, we get the cold shot Friday, and it does lift up. There's a little dip in the jet stream with the system on Sunday, and there's certainly more Pacific air coming in. But then the second half of next week, after we get rid of that shower threat on early Tuesday, we've got a cold shot coming in the second part of next week. So you're talking about the 19th and another one behind it. So if we just keep getting a series of clippers and it's synced up with the storm to the south, you never know. We might even get a little chance of snow as we head toward Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa. So the next 10 days, you see the big cold shot late in the week. We're going to bounce back early next week. We're seasonable through the 19th and 20th, but we will get some cold shots that will take us below normal at times. Climate Prediction Center, as we go toward Christmas, at least it's trended a little down. We talked about this yesterday, if you listened to Weather or Not, suggested that maybe the above normal signal will start to ease a little bit as we go toward Christmas, and it has here with just near normal temperatures. Precipitation generally looks below normal. We're not getting a lot of systems that are coming up the coast in this type of pattern headed toward Christmas. We're having more clippers coming in from the north and west, but that doesn't mean they can't get feisty and drop some precipitation. We still have, obviously, the drought issue, but some parts of the area are going to get nearly a month's worth of rainfall. If we get 4 inches over parts of Connecticut and Long Island, that's a month's worth of rainfall. So this is definitely a nice dent in the drought. And for the first time in, I don't know how long, I mean, maybe since early summer, we've finally seen the reservoir levels, the gap between normal and current. I mean, it's not much, but it came up a tenth. So at least we're starting to head in the right direction. And we should have a lot of runoff and water going into our water supply from this upcoming storm. Obviously, the big rain chances coming on Wednesday, a dry pattern after that, and we resume the rain chances late in the weekend into early next week. So 7 in the morning, prepare for areas of heavy rain, ponding on roads. It's breezy and milder. That's just the start. This really kicks in around midday, the worst through the afternoon, and then the rain starts to taper during the evening hours. So even a rumble of thunder too, damaging winds and power outages possible. Watch for flooding. 63 during the day and then a 30-degree plunge. Doesn't happen all at once, but temperatures are free falling during the evening hours tomorrow night. Rain ends in the evening, clearing and windy and sharply colder. Your AccuWeather Alert on your Wednesday for the heavy rain and gusty winds. It's blustery on Thursday and much colder 30s, feeling like teens and 20s. On Friday, not as much wind, sunshine, a few patchy clouds, 37. On Saturday, look for some high clouds to get into the mix, not too far from average. A little milder on Sunday with the slower nature of that system. Hopefully we can hold off on any showers till late in the day or at night. Still a rain chance on Monday. Tuesday might still have to get rid of some showers in the morning and then some drying. And remember, beyond that 7-day, it looks like a cold shot second half of next week. That's the way it's shaping up. Thank you for listening to Weather or Not. Be super careful on your Wednesday. We'll take you through the storm all day long. Make sure you have those mobile alerts on. Going to be a very volatile day, and then we get the cold blast coming back on Thursday. Thanks again for listening to Weather or Not. We'll see you next time, rain or shine.